utterly luxurious. The problem American kids face today, I think, is desperate boredom. Desperate, all-powerful, all-present boredom. Their lives don't have any meaning. They're not in physical danger almost ever. They can't even imagine. And when they do imagine, because things you don't experience but imagine always loom larger than the actual experience of them, they imagine it to be this horrific.
Do explosive rockets, are these better for the outer space? No,
Christ, so they're scared of a thing that can never happen to them. They never have a chance to be excellent. They never have a chance to be brave. They never have a chance to serve. How would an 18-year-old actually commit to a life of service? Actually. Not screaming and self-righteously declaring their morality through virtue signaling, but actual serving.
Are you leveling that criticism at American Jews as well, who are possibly overreacting to this because they need to feel like they're endangered to have some sort of meaning, or is that just American culture broadly? Because I'm playing devil's advocate. Somebody in pre-Nazi Germany is saying, so the guy made a few speeches. And, he's making his rounds. He's saying, just ignore it. It's ridiculous. Look at Germans who believe that. They're ridiculous. They're stupid. This is childish.
A lot of people said that. And they said that
at the time
authentically. And then eventually, as power grew, they were saying that desperately out of a wish casting, hoping it's true rather than knowing it's true. And then eventually they were killed.
Doesn't it require a society to, think anti-Semitism is fashionable and cool when it's meant, even when it's taken seriously, to say, and play with it? Isn't that fertile ground for some very dark things happening?
Kanye isn't deep enough to be an anti-Semite. That's not
I actually super agree with that. This guy stole my take.
Semitism.
Yeah.
That's not an actual idea about Jews. That's him tearing everything apart. You know what's taboo? That's what I'm going to do. Whatever's taboo.
Yep.
Yes.
True. Very true.
And the whole
Kanye West is in his I'm a white teen in the 2000s. I hopped into a Call of Duty lobby for the first time in my life, and I just realized I can call black people the N-word without anybody actually attacking me for it. That's the phase of life that Kanye West is in right now.
The whole culture validates it by throwing all of its attention to him, because the culture of celebrity has filled the space of religion, has filled the space of meaning, of any kind of shared ethos, of anything shared of any kind. And everybody's doing it. It's what Candace Owens does. It's what Tucker Carlson does nowadays. There's this thing we all think, it's not true. There's this other thing, it's not true. The only thing we know is to say what's not true. What is true? What do we believe in? What is our culture based on? What are we willing to sacrifice for? What opportunities do we give young people? I got to tell you, I am a very gentle soul, and with the exception of this podcast. And I was a bad soldier. I was just... No.
Do I know who this person is? Or have I seen this guy before? He looks a little bit like Eli Fleischer.
Very excited to be there, and I didn't enjoy the running, and I didn't... but I was still in the infantry. And I gave and I served, and the suicide bombings blew up on our checkpoints, and I stood on the border of Lebanon in uniform, and I know that if I wasn't in there in that spot at that moment, I wasn't elite infantry. I was grunt infantry. But if I wasn't there, someone else would have had to be there.
They're like, Haviv, stop reading. Check your post.
The problem was talking.
Enough. I get it. The Pale of Settlement. It's interesting. Can you please...
Would you stop cursing?
Reload. God. He's like, did you happen to know that?
You're joking, but it is a problem.
So you were in this position in infantry. You had your sense of service.
My entire life, I know that I did something that was completely stupid. At 18, I gave years of my life to... You don't get paid in the draft army, and I did it because there's something bigger than me, and I believe in it. And I was protecting. By the way, I was protecting all the children of Israel who stood behind me and were living their happy lives. And now I have children, and there are other young people who are standing as soldiers, and they're protecting my children. And someday my children will go be those soldiers. Not because I don't value the life of my children. My children's lives are more important to me than the existence of the state of Israel. It exists to protect them.
He's giving a speech.
But they will take part in this great circle of protection, of generational protection that we give each other. That doesn't exist here.
Do you think we're taking the bait too much then on all of this stuff? And as an Israeli Jew, you're looking at us like, God,
on a Ryan Grimm show
into this childish game. Stand for something positive. And what's the antidote?
I think this culture is, forgive me, I know how obnoxious this sounds.
It's
and
great.
Truly, no, but it sounds really patronizing. But God, what the hell who gives a shit? Why does it matter? Kanye could do this thing. You give it its validation. Ignore it.
Oh, I
Turn
would
it
love
off.
to.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
you.
I know.
Not your podcast. Not at all your podcast. I'm talking you, the 30 million followers. You, the people who are excited in it. You, the people who are morally horrified. Who gives a fuck?
I don't know. I think there's a disconnect there because I agree with you that no one should care. I wouldn't use your language, but nobody should care, but people do seem to care. And I guess my worry is that when a bad actor comes to exploit those ideas, an idiot introduced them to you, they were meaningless, you shouldn't have even paid attention to it, but now it is in your brain, and you do kind of think the Jews control the diamonds, and you do kind of think the Jews control the banks. It started as a joke, but now I'm going to now exploit that. Like, I understand how that
is
one
bad.
thing leads
That
to
is-
another.
yeah, it can do that.
Even
That's
if
not
it's all
good.
meaningless at the beginning.
Keep an eye on it, and that's it, and then get on to the real stuff. Like,
No, I'm Israeli.
Yeah.
Right. You're saying just get out of here.
I mean, no, God forbid
Or-
you should get out of here. This is a great place. This
Yeah.
is the best place
You
Jews
had a
have
bagel
ever been
before,
in.
and you enjoyed it.
It's just
I
not
had
you- it's not
I
your
had a
problem.
whitefish bagel. Nobody else in the world makes a whitefish bagel like New York. But
We're trying to figure out what the proper, not underreaction or overreaction, but proper reaction is to this.
my sense is very simple. This is a deep sickness, and it's not fundamentally about the Jews. Anti-Semitism is never fundamentally about the Jews. It is always a signal of some rot deep in the culture. In this case, we can see the rot because if the same exact thing that happened to the left culturally is now happening to the right, then it's systemic and it's structural and it's built into American culture and society. The economics of America broke communities. Americans are one of the most mobile people in the world. There was a statistic from, 10 years ago. The average American moves out of their county every 5 years, and it's creating this, what they call the big sort. It's a book called The Big Sort. I read it on Bill Clinton's recommendation. I recommend that everyone else read it. And it basically talks about how Americans are self-sorting into places that all vote the same. And so the vast majority of congressional seats, the vast majority of counties and districts in America now have landslides in every election. You live among people who agree with you, and that means that it radicalizes you because you don't meet the other side, and the other side looks to you distant and far. All of these, we know everything that's happening with social media algorithms, right? That are driving people, that are
Siloing
creating echo
people off.
chambers and
Yes.
all of these phenomena are turning people into crazy people, crazy, radicalized, silly, stupid people, and there isn't a shared. The corner church is emptying out. And religious society in America is empty, is shattering.
Wait, in order for me to win, do I have to be in the ship or do I just send the ship on its own?
Religion gives you community. Religion gives you a sense of meaning in the world. You don't have to believe in that religion so much, okay? We're Jews here? Okay. Do you have to believe in God to be a Jew? Not according to the Talmud itself. And so what the hell is, right? But a lot of Jews belong, and a lot of Jews help serve and connect without believing in that God. Why? Community. It's about being there, having backup, having social capital, having deep connections with people. I just saw this video by Scott Galloway that horrified me about swiping right culture.
Every 1,000 people, young men, are swiping. If every 1,000 people, they'll get one coffee for every 2,000 women. What you're having, what I'm concerned about, is a total disaster of young men who are going to find themselves alone and single and resentful and turn to violent, misogynistic content. Yeah, I saw that too.
Every word.
Oh, also real quick. Will this like scale the production of the fusion power cell based on the consumption of the energy here, or will it'll just consume it definitely? I don't know why I'm asking. That's how it always sounds. Fucked up.
Every word of it is horrifying.
Yes.
Every word is not even his conclusion.
Scott doesn't get everything right, but I hear
People
you.
really date by looking
Love you, Scott.
at a picture on a phone and swiping? What have you just done to your culture?
Israeli
to your
women also look a lot better
That
than the
happens
average
in Israel,
American.
though. It was
Swiping?
invented in
Are you
Israeli women
fucking
look so
serious?
much better
Are you a
looking than American than the
swiper?
average. They get more,
A
they get more
swiper?
swipes.
Okay, so maybe it's just because I'm 44. I don't know.
But it's a little bit of an apples and oranges.
Oh, only consumes fuel cells as powers as required. Is that true?
everyone I
because
know
community
is
in Israel-
dating for real.
Yeah, but in Israel, like, community is sort of built into the cake, a shared identity, a shared kind of kinship and history. In America, it's a bit different.
Neighborhoods
Yeah, yeah.
exist.
Yeah.
I lived in America. I lived in
Yeah, yeah.
in Glendale, Wisconsin in high school. I did not know my
Wisconsin?
neighbors.
Really, bro?
Right.
Yeah.
Big
and
guy.
that was
Starting then, you mean?
That was in the 90s.
I have in the last 5 years cooked 45 meals for women who had given birth in my neighborhood. I'm the cook in our house. I did not know my neighbors in America.
Bro
I
thinks he
submit to you
could.
that most Americans don't know their neighbors, and
It's-
if they know them, they're afraid of them.
He's
And because you
responsible.
can't leave your neighbor because they're your neighbor, you don't want to know them, because what if you don't like them? And that's a culture, and it's a culture of loneliness. And so maybe it feels
It's an
like a
interest-
lonely thing to me.
It's an interesting, bigger, deeper diagnosis than people who are just, oh, we hate Jews and that's cool. It's more that there's a rot in the society in which the people outside the Jewish community are sensing this lack of community and belonging, and I don't know, like a lack of religion. And therefore,
And it's radicalizing because
Yeah.
there's human community in radicalism. Those tent encampments at Columbia, those kids don't know if
You can say it again.
a rat's ass, a rat's patoot. They don't know anything about Hamas.
Right, but
they
they
don't
like-
know anything about Palestinian culture or religion or society. They don't know that there are Palestinians, Palestinian religious movements, big, dramatic, important ones, that think Hamas is a disaster. They don't know anything about what they're talking about.
But they want to hang out in tents in
But
this class.
wow, was that that was a life-altering experience.
Right.
To have to have comrades and to be in a war. Folks, this is Israelis have something that is, and not just Israelis. I think this is true of Eastern Europeans, and I think it's true of many societies that haven't shattered and atomized because of these modern tendencies. And America is the leader in the shattering and atomizing, and it's crashing.
Damn.
It's interesting because
And that's what Kanye is.
well, people say also people look at Jews and they're jealous of their money. Maybe they're jealous of their values and communities
And solidarity.
togetherness and solidarity. That's
And I've heard
that
Kanye even say
point
that
of
too.
view.
I'm jealous that they get together Friday nights. I'm jealous that they don't abort their babies and they have families, and there's this weird,
By
like,
the way-
hatred and admiration and envy and resentment all at the
I
same time.
once read this amazing review of one of the Matrix movies by Roger Ebert, and he talks about this scene where in Zion everyone is dancing, and he says
Palestine.
Everyone, no, he
just
says everyone is black or brown. There's no white people in Zion, and he's trying to understand the symbology because the Matrix movies were all vast, like layers of symbology, and he says it's a movie for white audiences. And for white audiences, black and brown is a signal of authenticity. White is fake. White, there's something thin about it. White isn't a culture. And being black and brown is having strength and having community and having real identity.
But there are those Jews trying to replace us again.
Problem I think a lot of voters had is like they didn't even know if it was her. We didn't even know if Biden was president. We didn't even know if these were her talking points. And we felt that over the last 4 elections, Democrats, we felt that we didn't have a say on who could be president. We talk a lot about the Republicans being autocrats and oligarchs and taking over democracy, but from the Democrat perspective, and I'm a lifelong Democrat, I felt like the Democratic Party completely removed the democratic process from its constituents. And I think they need to have some accountability of that.
No argument here.
I donated
is
for
what-
you. I mean, I wanted you to like. 2016, I was like, this is going to happen. This guy's going to do it, and it felt like they stole it from me. And I'll be honest, it broke my heart when you supported him.
Look, but you have, in the world that I live in, you got a choice. And I mean, a lot of people, including my wife, agree with you. But, you know, you're down to a choice. Is it going to be Hillary Clinton or is it going to be Donald Trump? Not a great choice.
But it ended up being him anyway. So why don't we burn it down?
Well, because it's easy to say burning it down means that children are not going to have, you know, food to eat, that the schools will deteriorate, people will not have health care.
I got it.
And I'm an elected official. I got to represent the people.
That's fair.
And I can't turn my back on.
But then could we not also say if ostensibly there hasn't been a fair primary for the Democrats since 2008, are they not also a threat to democracy? We often hear.
Fair enough. That is, yeah, I'm not going to argue with that point.
Well, thanks, Brian.
The problem.
I mean, like Bernie's perspective, he's going to say it hasn't been fair because the media coverage isn't fair and the party doesn't make equal resources. Like, I would argue this is obviously an irresponsible statement in the context of when these guys say it's not fair, they generally mean that, like, the elections are actually rigged. But whatever. PBD Slop.
You want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
I know it's hard work.
Well, I guess case closed, guys.
Okay, guess what?
I guess we figured it out.
I love
There was
Dan
that.
Bongino. Dan
They
Bongino
mad.
looks like he
They
didn't
mad.
want to.
They mad.
He killed himself. He killed him. I don't
How
know.
much do you believe them, Vinny?
Adam,
Cash
they
Patel,
work for the intelligence
Dan
community.
Bongino, high
Listen,
credibility in your
how
eyes,
about this?
right?
anything that
What
has to do
percentage
with
do
the
you believe
Epstein,
him?
I don't even know what the hell to believe from anybody anymore. And to be honest with you, killed himself, whatever. I don't, at this point.
86 himself.
Exactly, thank you. I don't care.
Doesn't even make sense. Like, why would a guy who got caught for and was being prosecuted for sexual encounters with minors, who was old and was basically going to lose every single thing in his life, and was basically looking to spend the rest of his days between a courtroom and a jail cell, why would that guy kill himself? Like, why would you even do that, right? Why would he do it? Who knows?
Do you know what I care?
Do you believe Epstein killed himself? Yeah. See, if you read the actual like prison report, he almost certainly killed himself.
About Ghislaine Maxwell and all the people that she knows and all the customers and all the by the way, tens of thousands of hours of Epstein and his people having sex with underage children. Where are I want arrests.
I don't know what it is in the conservative ethos. And it's not just conservatives, actually. I guess everybody kind of does this. Everybody has the fantasy. Maybe because people think about like fucking kids a lot or something. I don't know. Everybody has this fantasy that like when you become rich, the first thing you do is you join some massive pedophile org and you all start like fucking kids and getting blackmail on each other and trading pictures of it and everything else. That's why the whole obsession with the Diddy stuff from Candace Owens exists, is because everybody's like really, really, really desperate to finally have evidence of this point. And Epstein was going to be finally the guy that would show all of us the true child sex parties. And that's what everybody now everybody feels like they were deprived of that.
I want those people. Kill himself, that's okay. We're not stupid. We know what happened. If they say he killed himself, whatever. Maybe they gave him an ultimatum at him. Or maybe they're like, hey, listen, we're going to shut the cameras off. You at least better do it or else it's going to be hell or high water for you. So maybe, I don't know. I don't care at this point. I want the customers. I want the people that were at that island. I want the people that were on those tapes. I want them exposed. This doesn't do anything for me. I don't believe anybody anymore. I don't. I actually don't.
I mean,
that's what I want. That's what I think the people want. I think everybody out there wants to know who are the people that were there. If Ghislaine Maxwell is in jail for selling and sex trafficking girls, human beings, where are all the customers? You can't arrest Tom for being a drug kingpin and no other arrests are made. It doesn't make any sense. This I don't care about. I don't care.
That was a close one.
Yeah.
Don't expose me.
Yeah. But
you don't care about that Jeffrey Epstein
kill himself? Adam, because you know what, Adam? We're never going to know. We're not, all the stuff that lined up, the cameras were off, the guard was gone.
Exactly.
Like all of this like weird stuff is just weird when you're getting a certain set of facts and you're not getting the full story. And all of it kind of looks weird, but then when you get the full story, it's like deeply unsatisfying. You're like, oh fuck, I get it. Never mind. This sucks. But
cellmate was on. I don't care. We're never going to find out. I want the people that were hooking up with kids.
If I may, I don't want to weigh in on you guys going back and forth, but I'm going to say this. Did Hitler kill himself?
We don't know.
Hours before, somebody else was probably going to do it for him.
Yeah, probably.
Right?
Yeah.
So did Epstein hear that? Okay.
Why were the cameras off? The cameras were off because the jail was like, or the prison just had a very, very, very shitty maintenance record. It seems kind of suspect that only that camera would have been off. But when you actually read the reports, it wasn't just that camera that was off. Half the cameras in this prison were not recording because they had been fucked. And there were maintenance requests that had been put in for weeks prior to Epstein killing himself they were just slow on responding to everything. The reality is that the state of our federal prisons is pretty sad. This prison had a decent amount of problems, and Epstein obviously was a high-profile figure, and that brought a lot of attention to it. But people kill themselves in prisons, and dumb shit happens in federal prisons a lot. And when you read the actual report, it was a really poorly run place. There were a whole bunch of issues. We just like spotlight some of the Epstein stuff, and we assume that something like really crazy happened when.
Okay, look, the thing that went down in Florida, you got out of that. There's no getting out of this one. That's it. That's not where it's going. And you know what? You got a couple choices here. You know, you're going to get it, or you can take the way out and do it yourself.
Well, there's a lot of people that think that Adolf Hitler ended up in Argentina, and, as well as a bunch of other Nazis.
Pretty.
Okay, well then
feasible.
Step back from
I don't
that
know.
one. But
I mean, I
how
wasn't
many,
there hanging
how
out with the
many
guy.
cornered,
Kanye was, though.
How many cornered serial killers or cornered killers off themselves moments before the police are finally going to come through the door, right? We see that all the time.
Wait, did somebody just say never?
Before the police are finally going to come through.
Or did you say the N-word? Wait, what? Sorry.
the door, right? We see that all the time. It's the cheap way out for the killer who doesn't want to go to prison and doesn't want to be arrested and doesn't want to be taken alive. You'll never take me alive.
What you're saying is, Tom, that whether he did it himself or someone else was going to do it, it was inevitable.
Yes, that's what I think. That's what I think. And there are other people out there that seem to think that. So could Cash and Bongino, both are friends of the podcast. We talked to them, just full disclosure. But, are they speaking the truth about it? Yeah, I'd like to think that both of those guys that we think highly of are speaking the truth. However, in speaking the truth, it's okay. Why did he do it at that time? And then it sure seems pretty convenient that cameras go off and the things changed in the detention center. That happened. Those cameras were off. The guard moved. The roommate went to another cell. There's some things that happen.
Like, it sucks because like all of this stuff was part of a huge pattern of problems, but nobody here actually read the reports. Huh?
Happened there that aren't explained, and say, okay, guys. That's it. But what about the rest of your police investigation, Cash? I'd like to hear that. Okay, what about the rest of the circumstances that went down with the guards, with the cameras, with everything else? What about the rest of the circumstances, even though you and Bongino were saying, we've seen the pictures, we've seen the file, we're looking in there, that is a suicide, no signs of struggle, okay, I'm calling that. Okay, what about everything else? I want to see the full explanation.
Yeah, it seems highly questionable. By the way, do you know who weighed in on this whole Epstein thing?
What evidence would you need to believe that he didn't kill himself? I mean, like a single shred of evidence pointing otherwise, other than just kind of like super random circumstantial stuff. Like, it has to be more than like isn't it weird? Like nothing, none of the forensics, nothing pointed to the fact that there was another person involved in killing him. There's literally nothing for it, unfortunately. But I mean,
Elon Musk. Do you have that clip, Rob?
Yep, right here.
Yeah, Vinny just texted it.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, this is weird. Did you see this?
Yeah.
I do want to ask you about US aid and the comments that Bill Gates made the other day, and I know that you called him...
Yeah, he's a huge liar.
I know, you've said that already.
Oh, huge
liar.
Wondered...
Also, and I'm just...
Who does Bill Gates think he is to make comments about the welfare of children, given...
What? That's like all of Bill Gates' philanthropy has been around like helping fucking like children and Africans and shit dying of like malaria and AIDS and everything else. I feel like this is like a huge concern, like a major focus of Bill Gates' philanthropic work over the past few decades. What? Call him a pedophile. Do it. Elon, do it.
Who does Bill Gates think he is to make comments about the welfare of children, given that he frequented Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah, I cummed. Yes, based.
Okay, well...
Wow, applause break.
Applause, so brave.
He said he regrets those, and he's spent a lot...
I wouldn't trust him to babysit my...
Bro, you don't even know who watches any of your kids. You have like 27 kids like spread throughout random women around the world.
Kids. He's got a lot of course you
around
wouldn't.
the world over the years. My question to you is, have you looked at the data to check if he might be right?
Nope.
That the cuts to USAID might cost millions of lives?
He has no idea, bro.
Yes. I'd like him to show us any evidence whatsoever that is...
Bro, I would pay so much money to see Bill Gates debate Elon Musk about fucking anything. Oh my God.
They certainly
but you
have
notice
beef.
her, she's like, yeah, but he helped so much. The Melinda Gates and all that, brother, they're shutting that down, aren't they, Rob? The
Dan
Melinda Gates.
Bongino and Cash Patel, the energy was very different pre-getting in the job.
Yes, sir.
Versus once they got the job. So it's either they find out who's holding who hostage. It's either they put stuff in front of them to say, here's what we have on you, which I don't think that's the one, but that's the second thing. It's either they realize they need that to be able to control assets. Other people are holding the people in the White House hostage. Or they're just telling the truth.
Schizo post
and you
with
have
me.
to believe it. And the last one is the fact that they may have given him weapons and said, kill yourself. So forever they could say he killed himself to categorically make it right that they're not lying. But he didn't kill himself. You know, it's a different kind of a situation, you know, that he was in. But Adam, your thoughts here, and then we'll move on to the last story.
I like how you kind of give the options here. I filtered it down to two options. Number one, it is the truth, or at least it's truthiness, right, that he offed himself. Or number two, which I actually think is way more likely, is that
somebody else told him he did kill himself, but it was when somebody else told him to kill himself.
there's a big difference between talking about what you're going to do when you get to the job versus actually seeing what the hell's going on behind the scenes when you get the job as the FBI director. So my assumption, never had the opportunity to be the FBI director. I know you chat GPT'd like what qualifications on a daily basis. You're going to see things that you never thought you would see. And you're going to see people's names that you never thought you would see. And some of those people may be presidents or billionaires or foreign dignitaries. And they're going to say, listen, yeah, you might expose this name with Jeffrey Epstein, but you also might bring down half the world. So what do you want to do? In my opinion, when they get this job, they see things that they didn't think that they would see. And they say, yeah, he definitely killed himself. Okay, moving on. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. Last but not least, Stephen A. Smith went on Vinny.
On him? On him? On top of him? Epic.
So if you want to...
Sorry, I had to watch the VOD, read Chatter's comments. Chat is saying there shouldn't be a Jewish country because that's racist, but hello, there are Muslim countries. Am I missing something? I'm legit not trolling, trying to understand both sides. Yes. If there was a group of...
I don't know how to I haven't figured out how to distill this down into like a snappy argument, but there's something to be said for our intuitive feeling in the West is having like an ethnic qualifier for going into a country feels wrong. Even though in the US we kind of sort of do it because we do limit legal immigration based upon the nationalities of the people coming in, not the ethnicities, but the nationalities of the people coming in. But there's something to be said for, so there are two terms, de facto and de jure, all right? So de facto is where something basically is a rule, but it's not actually a rule, but it's like basically a rule, right? And then you have something that's de jure, and de jure means that really truly is a rule, you know? So if you have like a group of friends, you might have like a de facto leader, right? This guy, he's like the guy that tends to make the decisions for us. But it's not like written down anywhere. You haven't actually like voted on it. It's not like in some document or whatever, right? He's just like de facto. He's like the de facto leader. Whereas in a company, like your CEO, that's de jure. He's the chief executive officer on paper, like documented, like this is the actual leader of the company. I think it's interesting when you have an environment. Wait, I'm so sorry. Am I fucking retarded? Destiny, jure is pronounced more like jure. De jure? Is that how you say it? Why do I say these words for months and nobody corrects me? Or de jure? It sounds like DiGiorno, like the pizza. I hate this guy. We've listened to this guy so much. Hold on.
Expression from French and more confusing vocabulary that many mispronounce. We'll be looking at how to say more legal terms too. De jure, de.
Wait, he said de jure. Destiny. No, de jure means in law. It doesn't have anything to do with morality. What did I just say that had anything to do with morality? Okay. Okay, so there's something to be said for an environment where there's like a de facto rule that basically everybody follows, and then somebody kind of like comes into an area and for whatever reason, that rule is not being followed there. And he's like, well, hold on. I want to make this like a de jure rule. I actually want to like instantiate this. I want this to be in law somewhere. And then everybody else looks at you like, excuse me, that's super immoral. So when you look at all the states of the Middle East, none of them have ethnostate written into law for their immigration. But like de facto, they're all more or less kind of like ethnostates. Like they really are. They function that way, right? There's not like a huge ethnic majority of people coming from somewhere else to take over these countries. Like it's just never happening. It's not a threat they have to face. So they get to enjoy like a de facto ethno, I don't want to say ethno-supremacists, like they think they're better than everybody, but they have like these ethnic majorities that also like rule these countries, and they get to enjoy that basically. Although in some cases, I think like in Iraq, they technically had weird ruling, like the Ba'ath government, I think represented a minority over a majority, which led to weird shit. Yeah, but it's annoying that when somebody gets to enjoy, or a whole bunch of people get to enjoy these de facto things, Israel wants to say, like, de jure, they want to make it like a law. Like, well, hold on. We want to protect, like, the ethnic identity of our country. Now, you guys don't have to protect the ethnic identity of any of your countries, because none of your ethnic identities are, one, persecuted across the world, or two, under threat. But we want to make our ethnic identity protected. And then people in the West go, oh, excuse me, have you ever heard a little thing called the Nazis? Because that's basically what you're doing. It's like, well, that's a pretty crude analysis of what's going on in the area, but...
Muslims that were shipped into another country, a Christian country, okay, and forced every single person.
Okay, well, and then there's, I think my argument stands strong enough on its own, but someone else in chat is saying you're wrong. Arab countries are literally de jure Muslim and Arab. I will link to you every single article in every single MENA, which is Middle East and North Africa countries, constitution to prove this point. If you read my comment, wait for a bit. Oh, okay, I don't have to read it. That might be true. That would just be an even stronger version of my argument. I don't even think you need to make an argument that strong, though. But if that's true, then that's even more explicit, yeah.
Out of their ancestral homelands, and then basically fucking decided this is ours now, and dominated the indigenous population. You know what you would call that? You'd call that ISIS. That's what ISIS did, and that's...
Okay, so the Nazi comparison wasn't working, so now Israel is ISIS, I guess?
Precisely what Israel is doing. When you say, like, oh, there are Muslim countries that exist, oh my God, people are saying the UK. Okay, I can't tell if you guys are fucking joking about what racist people say or if you're actually personally racist. The UK, though? Oh my God, are people legitimately saying that that is what is happening in the UK, is like Muslim migration into the UK is forcing out the indigenous Ingerlanders? Wait, they want Sharia? No, that's, what are you saying? There's 0% chance I have this many fucking, there's this many dumbasses. Just because there's a bunch of white people doesn't mean it's an ethno-state chatter. Yeah, it's like...
Like, the annoying thing about this is that he unironically plays into a lot of neo-Nazi talking points about how, well, neo-Nazis will say the Jews are controlling you, but here it's just, I guess, a Marxist, where Marxists will say things like, excuse me, if you're white, that means that you're a colonizer, which means you're not native to any of your countries, and you engaged in slavery, so you have no right to protect your ethnic identity. But if it's another country and they are a minority, not over there, because that would be retarded, but a minority to us over here, then we can project our own oppressor-oppressee dynamic to them and protect their ability to ensure their ethnic protection. It's like a very stupid, short-sighted argument that it's very easy for neo-Nazis to look at and point at people like Hasan and go like, huh, isn't it kind of weird that Hasan wants white people to destroy their own ethnicities and destroy their own nationalities and ethnic identities, but he would never say the same for non-white people? Like, it's very annoying to hear this.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest. You're telling me a American of Muslim background living in the United States of America.
Of Muslim background. Okay, he's Turkish. I don't know if any of his family was ever that religious. I feel like Turkey has a weird relationship with religion, but okay.
Who knows many Muslim people in the UK.
I seriously doubt that, but okay.
That actually the Islamic migration into the UK is actually an invasion.
This is a dumb point.
And they are trying to do Sharia law in the UK.
I mean,
there's a white genocide.
Okay. What is a difference between a nation state like European nations and an ethno-state? Honestly, I don't know. I would have given you a stronger answer on that like a year ago, but listening to how other people talk about ethno-states in my chat, and then listening to how just people in general reference like ethno stuff, I actually feel like the definition for like ethno or like ethnicity and nationality, I think these are a lot more fluid than I had originally assumed. It seems like there are people use these words a lot differently based on, I guess, what it is they're talking about. So I don't know. I don't have a very strong opinion on any of that.
Happening in the UK. White people are so crazy, bro. They literally think they invite, first of all, they dominate the entire planet. And then when those when the people from those colonies go, okay, we want to come there, they fucking at first say, yeah, that's actually a great idea because we need cheap labor. And then they go, wait a minute, I don't actually like it. There's too many brown people around me. What the fuck do you mean?
I've heard you say this before, but I don't understand. What's interesting, the Jewish ethnicity and the religious identity? Jewish ethnicity is tracing themselves through like ethnic background, like bloodline, ancestry. There is a Jewish religion, but the founding of Israel was done. Israel was founded as a secular state. The early Zionist movement that was kind of spearheaded by Theodor Herzl and then was taken up by Kaisman and everybody else, that was a secular movement. It was called labor Zionism. And the fixation was not on some ultra-religious stuff. Now, people became religious in that country, more religious, especially after the 67 war. But even that has stronger ties to history than it does to religious argumentation. So when you talk about Jewish people, you're really making an ethnic argument. It's not really much to do at all with the religious stuff. Although, I mean, like, religion is like a part of it, but it's not nowhere near as big of a factor as some people sometimes say it is.
Well, you shouldn't have colonized the planet then.
The whole
planet. What are you talking about? And especially as it pertains to the United Kingdom, you should be fucking kissing the feet of all the Muslims that came to the goddamn country and all the people that came from the Caribbeans, all the people that came from India, so that you can actually eat something that isn't fucking jellied eels for once. Oh my God. You should literally be celebrating all of the immigration that took place.
Jews are a nation, though. It's more than just an ethnicity. Yeah, whatever. Why are you well-actualing me? Some people will exchange what they call nation versus ethnicity. Whatever you want to call it.
So that there is like some semblance of diversity on the fucking island. God damn. Give me the option of beans on toast. Give me the option of fucking beans on toast. By the way, this person is quickly unwinding his argument. Give me the option of beans on toast and jellied eel versus Sharia and fucking doner and kebabs. I'm taking
100-0 U.S. Senate passes No Tax on Tips Act. Is it its own bill? Wait, really?
Sharia. I'm literally taking Sharia law. Okay. I'm taking halal meat and Sharia law as long as we got the fucking donors, right? Fucking hell. Instead of the mushy peed, yeah? Could happen to the...
Okay, I don't care. What is this?
So if you want to...
Sorry, I had to watch the VOD, read Chatter's comments. Chat is saying there shouldn't be Jewish country because that's racist, but hello, there are Muslim countries. Am I missing something?
Oh, same thing. Good one.
You both again in this Congress. Secretary Kennedy, things are not going well. It's clear what you are doing across HHS is devastating to children, families, seniors, millions of Americans that HHS programs support. Now, you were required to send us an operating plan detailing how you are spending funds that...
Did he not do this either? Did none of these fuckers do a budget? Or do they just not know how to? Or, hello?
Congress provided for programs that families rely on. You sent us what you titled the, quote, Hill version, which had over 530 asterisks in place of the funding levels. Mr. Secretary, we need the real version with actual funding levels. This committee needs to know how you are spending taxpayer dollars right now and what programs you are cutting and which you are eliminating. You are blocking billions in funding that Congress appropriated from going out the door, including $3 billion at NIH, $1 billion in Head Start, and $3 billion in child care funding alone. And that's on top of all the other funding you have illegally ripped away. $11 billion from state and local health departments, $1 billion supporting local substance use.
Aren't big corporations going to benefit the most from no tax on tips, especially with the machines taking tips and everything now? Yeah, it's just stupid. Like, one, yeah, it creates perverse incentives in an employment environment. Like, by the way, when you subscribe to my website now, there's going to be an option for tipping Jader and stuff, because I'm going to stop paying these fuckers a wage and you just pay them with your fucking tips, okay? Just kidding. Well, I'm saying that, like, kind of jokingly, but it's true. Like, these are the incentives that you're going to be creating in this environment. It's really stupid. So you create bad incentives. And then also just the theory behind it. Like, you're your tips are your wages. This is what you get paid to work. Why should you not pay taxes on them? Why would you not? I don't understand that. What is the rationale there? You should pay taxes on your tips because that's your wage and you work, and we pay taxes in this country.
And mental health programs, and $66 million in Title X funds for cancer screenings, birth control, and preventive care. We know you're dismantling HHS and throwing away generations of investments in our healthcare system and firing critical employees. We are talking about the people who administer Head Start, LIHEAP, Meals on Wheels, or entire teams who are working on preventing chronic disease and Alzheimer's, tracking IVF success rates and safety, maternal health, more. On top of all of this, you propose a budget now with truly devastating cuts that would leave America sicker and weaker. But you're not waiting to see whether Congress approves that budget proposal. This administration...
Ooh, that's a really interesting question. Does it include exemptions from payroll tax? Because that will fuck Social Security otherwise. That's true. That means that if you're getting tips and they're not taxed, you're not paying into your Social Security, which is also weird. It's just such a stupid idea.
Is starting to unilaterally implement it.
How did you find August? You just looked right after July.
Right now, in defiance of Congress and the laws we passed. If you aren't already, you're sprinting down the road of illegally impounding billions in funding through intentional action and incompetence. So to my colleagues on this dais, we heard several weeks ago from experts across the country what...
Why did Kamala adopt the idea? Because it's a shitty, stupid, fucking populist idea, and Democrats love their populism when they can get in on it.
We risk...
Have you actually been to a strip club? Like twice in my life. I hate them. I think they're mega depressing. Not good.
We heard several weeks ago from experts across the country what we risk by ceding American leadership on biomedical research. If we bless these staffing and funding cuts across HHS, that means deciding that we are comfortable with China leading the future development of every drug, device, and vaccine. The supply chain challenges we faced during the pandemic will be the new normal. Our access to the latest treatments and cures will depend on...
True! Nobody wants to talk about that because the only fraud that people care about are frauds that rich people do. Wait, where did that comment go? Wait, fuck. Oh. Alifer. I think people are just upset that it's harder to tax fraud tips like they used to now. Wait. I think people are just upset that it's harder to tax fraud tips like they used to now. Wait, I don't get... Actually, never mind. I don't get that comment at all. I read tax fraud and tips and harder, and I assumed we were saying the same thing, but I actually don't know what your comment is. Now you don't have to do tax fraud on tips because now they just won't be taxed. But...
other countries. It's time to stand up and assert Congress's authority. This committee has dedicated itself in a bipartisan manner over decades to make sure we are the global leader in research and development. And now all of us know this administration is now setting us...
That is what he's saying. Okay.
...back where it may take decades to regain that position. If we don't, decades of scientific breakthroughs and medical discovery and the bipartisan work to support them risks being...
He's been responding to people on his website. I respond everywhere. I definitely watch my cake chat, okay?
burned to the ground, and it will be very, very hard for us to rebuild that. We should be setting this country up for failure. We have to do better. Now, Secretary Kennedy...
It's easier to not report cash income from tips, but now basically everyone pays with cards. So the transaction software automatically reports the tip income on your paychecks. Oh, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, true. Even when I was working back in 2008, 9, I feel like did the majority of people tip with card? I think back then it was like 50-50. But I didn't work in a traditional like tipped setting, it was like a diner. So maybe it was different in in a traditional restaurant. Maybe people did cash tips more often. But even when I was working back then, it was a lot of it was done via card.
Listening to your testimony last week, frankly, left me pretty confused and concerned about what is happening at your department. You repeatedly claim that staffing and funding cuts that have been reported on publicly and even confirmed by your department staff are not happening. So either you're lying or you're not the one making the decisions. You said, and I quote, "I made sure that Head Start was not cut," later going on to say there should not be any delays, the funding is there. Well, Mr. Secretary, HHS is delaying billions in funding for Head Start and child care. These funding delays meant that a Head Start program in my state that serves more than 400 children had to close its doors and left parents scrambling. So let me ask you about another child care issue. Secretary Kennedy, whose decision was it to withhold child care and development block grant funding?
Senator, I want to point out that
that's fake
in
news.
2021, at the beginning of his administration, President Biden submitted his budget on May. You know what? You made an accusation of me, and I'm going to answer it.
Okay, I appreciate
on May
that.
28th.
We're going to
he
talk about
submitted his
Biden,
budget.
goddammit.
So our budget. We're a new administration.
Okay, you can.
And I also want to point
I
out.
have just 2 minutes left. I asked you a specific.
I want to
question.
point out something, Senator. You presided here, I think, for 32 years. You presided over the destruction of the health of the American people.
Well,
Our people are now the
Mr.
sickest people in the
Secretary,
world.
seriously.
Because you have
Mr.
not done your
Secretary,
job.
Seriously. That is an
What have you done
amazing
about it?
point.
What have you
Mr.
done about the
Secretary,
epidemic
I am here
of
to
chronic
ask-
disease?
Of
Mr.
autism.
Secretary,
What have
are
you done?
What have you done about the autism?
epidemic
God
of
damn it.
chronic disease?
Seriously, Madam
Mr. Secretary,
Chairman.
I would ask it to hold back and let the senator ask the questions.
Mr. Secretary, I'm asking you a question about child care. I'm asking you who made the decision to withhold child care and development block grant funding.
That was made by my department.
Okay,
Good
and you
job.
said last week,
did it.
quote, we were not cutting thousands of scientists, we are not cutting clinical trials, but I want you to know in the last 4 months, you fired or pushed out nearly 5,000 NIH staff and terminated more than 1,600 NIH grants. That includes more than 240 clinical trials across the country. So whose decision was it to fire scientists and terminate these NIH grants and the clinical trials?
Senator, I don't trust your information with all due respect. You told me 3 days ago or 4 days ago that we had cut a clinical trial in your state, and what you said turned out to be completely untrue, and you knew it was untrue because you corresponded with Jay Bhattacharya before
Madam
that.
Chairman, I will answer that. It shouldn't take me, first of all, raising an issue with you face to make sure NIH is working its way through.
Wait, hold on. This guy came back. Damn, this is an even stronger argument, if this is actually true. Title 1, General Principles Governing the Algerian Society. Article 1, Algeria shall be a People's Democratic Republic. It shall be one and indivisible. Islam shall be the religion of the state. Arabic shall be the national unofficial language. Arabic shall remain the official language of the state. A High Council for the Arabic language shall be established under the auspices of the President of the Republic. A High Council for the Arabic language shall be assigned, specialists working towards the affluence of the Arabic language. Generalization. Well, wouldn't people like Hasan argue, well, you can still be white and they could all go there as long as they're Islamic and they adopt the language of Arabic, no? Can you find Algeria on the map? No, isn't that in risk? It's like in central northern Africa. It's a huge block of land the French used to fuck with. The Kingdom of Bahrain is an independent Islamic Arab state. Oh, Arab, that's an ethnicity. The Arab Republic of Egypt. Damn, Arab is like a cheat word. Like nobody really thinks of that as being like ethnically homogenous or something, or not even that. We just don't attack it as white people. But imagine if you had like the Caucasian Republic, the Caucasian United States of America. People would be so ass-pained. Holy shit.
Through this. The woman that was in question, as I clarified to you at the last committee, was qualified for a clinical trial, unlike you stated.
Ooh.
So
Untrue. Untrue.
No, that is true.
Untrue. She qualified this week. We shouldn't be talking about patients' private information
I agree.
anyway.
And let's leave that. And I will just say your staff didn't get back to me till 45 minutes ago.
We have the emails. We have the emails from your staff
Secretary
2 weeks ago.
Ooh.
2 weeks ago, you were corresponding. What you said you knew was untrue when you said it to me.
You came here to argue with me. I came here to ask you questions about your budget request.
Got him.
Your budget request is asking us to cut dramatically, but I am also making the point that Senator Baldwin made, that what you are doing right now is enacting your budget that Congress has not passed by cutting critical funding across the board. And I think this committee will find that to be very detrimental in the future. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Hyde-Smith. Thank you, Chair Capito and Ranking Member Baldwin, for this meeting.
Senator Klepto? What? Just kidding. Joke. Fuck these. I don't need these. W. Gila moment.
Go, Ethan.
See, that's what I mean. Like, I'm not interested in any of these conversations. I
This
don't.
is activism. Well, what did you expect when you called in to talk to Bad Empanada, dipshit?
True.
This is what you get, man.
No, this is activism.
You know what would have been so
Bad
fucking
Emma
epic?
Panda.
If he was like, actually, I don't think it was funny what you did. Like, how great would that be?
He can't. He already said it. Oh, I'm sure Ethan commented on it, or hopefully he heard that point. Hasan already said we're ideologically aligned, so it's not productive for me to criticize your behavior ever, which is that's just a wild statement to make, but based, for being honest, I guess.
You know,
he was close. I mean, there was like a little bit of pushback, but I don't know. I think
You call that
he doesn't
pushback?
want to.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call that pushback.
I think Hasan needs to grow some balls.
Keep in mind that like I'm considered basically a Nazi, okay? Because of my platforming, my irresponsible platforming of Nick Fuentes. I'm basically a Nazi. Whereas Hasan can bring this guy on and basically co-sign all of his statements, either explicitly or implicitly. And it's like, well, you know, we're ideologically aligned with each other.
Well, his point was it's an optics thing. It's not that I don't find it funny. It's the optics.
Right.
Well, he was saying you see how people can infer.
Not me, people.
Right. There's that degree of separation.
It's all the greatest hit.
Always based. What is this? RFK Jr.'s workout plan.
Do my home workouts. I start with 10,000 push-ups. Then I bench press a school bus filled with unvaccinated orphans. For protein, I chew on this umbilical cord. Stem cells. Then I drink the sperm of a Sudanese camel for fertility. Delicious. Every night after I brush my teeth, I handcuff myself to my bed frame in case I shift into a wolf and try to hunt woodland creatures in the night.
Okay. Hold on, I'm sorry. 1 second.
Ooh. Here we go. One more thing. We're almost done. Okay, we can do it. You are not safe. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. The very fine people hoax. So let's take a look at this, and we'll see what's going on.
Bro, Donald Trump dumped food into a fish pond after Shinzo Abe did. Why are you trying to make that a negative
I don't even
story?
know what that
it was
we're
like
talking about there.
it's all of these hoaxes. The very fine people hoax.
I mean, I remember the line. Yeah,
Trump never called Nazis fine people.
He said there were very fine people on both sides.
Except the neo-Nazis and white nationalists who should be condemned totally.
He said that.
Holy.
Yeah, he did. That's the full quote.
Shit.
What a fucking retard. Oh my god.
Brother, it is.
I don't live in your bubble, man. I don't.
You don't live in the fuck.
You don't live in the bubble? But just so you guys can understand this bubble analogy fully. So this is the quote. So Adam's bubble is the smaller bubble. So if anybody's living in a bubble, it's Adam. I mean, because if you want to use this metaphor, this is literally the worst metaphor to possibly use. Why would you use this bubble? This is the worst one. Oh my god.
Brother, it is.
I don't live in your bubble, man. I don't.
You don't live in
I
the.
think that Tim Pool is being way too aggro about this, and because of that, he's making Adam super defensive. And maybe he's doing that on purpose, but yeah, he is. Like, I think Tim goes super aggro about stuff. I don't hate Tim, by the way. I like Tim. I think Tim's fine. I've watched an Adam video I've agreed with too, for that matter. I think this is stupid, but other than that, yeah.
Fucking news, dude! Come the fuck on! You don't read the fucking news! This is what fucking blows my mind!
No, I just don't have your. I don't have your.
No,
obsessions.
Trump did not call me.
Wait, you don't have your obsessions? I didn't realize it was this bad. So, Adam. See, and this is what a lot of people do, is that what I find to be very funny about this is that it's this emotional manipulation gaslighting technique that people like Adam do, and there are other people that do this as well, that weaponize mental illness or the implication of mental illness against other people. And by the way, I do this too, but I admit that I'm doing this. And the thing is that they gaslight you, and then they tell you you're crazy for acknowledging that they're being gaslighted. Or they're gaslighting, excuse me.
Neo-Nazis and white supremacists, very fine people. Bro, it's been almost 10 years, and you still think he did. That's
No,
what's
I
fucked
didn't
up.
say I think he did. I just don't know what you're talking about because I don't.
You didn't. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. We gotta pause the music here.
That's
No,
what's fucked
I
up.
didn't say I think he did. I just don't.
People.
He said there were very fine people on both sides.
Except the neo-Nazis and white nationalists. That's
No,
what's fucked
I
up.
didn't say I think he did. I just don't know.
I love the fact that we can record videos. Isn't that...
Okay, what is this? What is he crying about? The no fine people thing? I cannot believe that we've allowed the liberal media to get so fucking gaslit on everything that for some reason the entire liberal media capitulated and is like, no, Trump didn't actually call neo-Nazis white supremacists very fine people. He did. He did. He did. Okay, I don't care about this.
What are you doing?
I took a little something for myself. Charity?
Dude, what are you doing?
I'm not doing anything.
Hey, we're gonna find somebody.
Sorry,
Take stuff from me.
this is my grandpa.
No, I'm
He
not your
has-
grandpa. Get away
He has
from me.
dementia.
No, I don't have dementia.
I understand what you're thinking right now. Like,
I need to find security.
please don't.
Please do it. Okay, I'm fine.
That'd be shaken.
Okay.
I'm going to embrace my Jewish mother instincts for a moment.
Uh-oh.
So as a mother, a senator, and a fellow human being, I can tell you that I'm not even mad anymore about your complicity in this administration's destruction of U.S. global leadership. I'm simply disappointed. And I wonder if you're proud of yourself in this moment when you go home to your family, because I've always found you, Senator Rubio, to be a bipartisan, pragmatic partner.
Literally, I think Rubio was one of the most famous people who was on the. Am I making this up? He was on the Gang of Eight, right? He really was. I think that was kind of a reputation earlier in Congress. Unless I'm making this up, right? And then in the. When they were doing the Republican primaries, I think Republicans hadn't realized that MAGA had corrupted the moral foundation of the party. So like came in crude. Well, I shouldn't even say MAGA, actually. MAGA didn't even exist yet. But so that Trump was like tapping into something more disgusting than any of them would have thought possible at the time. But
A true believer that the U.S. is stronger when we lead with diplomacy and development. You have a strong record on this. But I don't recognize Secretary Rubio. A stalwart support of Israel, you've watched this administration abandon Saudi normalization with Israel in order to pursue business deals. You were once a fierce critic of Vladimir Putin, but you sat idly by as the president berated the elected leader of Ukraine for not capitulating to Russia. And worst of all, you've kneecapped foreign assistance, including programs that you previously championed.
Trump didn't explicitly say the Nazis were fine people. There was a protest and the Nazis showed up in opposition to the protest. Those were the two groups. Trump's issues with people who were troublemakers. No, the protest that had happened the night before that Trump was explicitly referring to was explicitly a neo-Nazi protest. It was not just vague. It was not a random. It was explicitly a neo-Nazi protest. I'm not going to make you watch it for the fourth time, but Ben Shapiro covers this like very explicitly the days after it happened. Most people knew what was going on. Everybody knew what was happening. But it's been rewritten now as time has gone on.
And made America less safe, less strong, less prosperous. In doing so, I know you know this in your heart. And I can't make this point any better than you did yourself in 2019 when you said, anybody who tells you that we can slash foreign aid and that will bring us to balance is lying to you. So with that, I'm just going to move on to my questions. Thank you. And I'm going to talk about international women's issues because during your time as senator, you were a champion of international women's issues. You helped introduce bills that would have codified the Department's Office of Global Women's Issues and Women's Global Development Prosperity Initiative. You supported several bills, including Senator Shaheen's Bipartisan Women, Peace, and Security Act. During your confirmation hearing, you committed to me that you would support women's economic empowerment abroad. And at this year's International Women of Courage Award, you waxed poetically about the administration's support for women abroad. So help me understand how to square your past with your present. Terry Rubio, I'm going to embrace my Jewish mother instincts for a moment. So as a mother, a senator, and a fellow human being, I can tell you that...
Okay, we got it.
This IRL.
If you're so welcome me to the jungle right now.
Yeah.
What?
This IRL.
If you're so welcome me to the
Okay.